This episode of the Empty Netters podcast is brought to you by LABATT Blue Light. It is the freshest Canadian Pilsner in the game, and you want to know why? Because it's brewed with Canadian kindness in every sip. I'm telling you guys, when you were watching the game, when you were hanging with your buddies, the weather's getting nice again, always a sign of playoff hockey, LABATT Blue Light is your go-to drink for all those activities. Dan and I got him on deck. We're watching these games every night, and there's a stack of LABATT Blue next to both of us. Make sure you're doing the same thing. Check it out as soon as you can.
The ice is ready. East Coast edition. We are here in Boston. Shout out to the Big Night Media gang for hosting us in their unbelievable studio, as always. And we are back with another, and maybe technically, because we did conference predictions, first playoff episode of the 2024 Stanley Cup playoffs. Holy CP.
I'm fired up. And you know, Dan, every time, isn't it sick that every time we come here, it's cooler? Like,
I know,
literally every time we come to Big Night.
These goddamn sons of bitches just keep stepping up their game every second. We got the voice of God with producer Hurls now.
It's like going to Tony Stark's basement. You know, like Pepper comes down there and
it's
Tony
a new
Stark's,
Iron Man movie.
Yeah.
Every time we come in, there's a new Iron Man movie. Tony
walks out, he
new.
touches a button, a suit, he gets a suit on, he's editing in real time on a digital screen.
It's nanotech. You like it?
Yeah, they're rocking nanotech.
We've got nanotech in here.
And it's absolutely incredible. It's a beautiful day out in Boston, by the way.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
I'm so thrilled to be here. We got bees, we got playoff hockey.
This might be my favorite East Coast / Boston weather. As stupid as that sounds. I just think we all love summer. It's beautiful. It gets a little humid here.
Yeah.
Right now, we got a crisp walking around 62-ish degrees. I got a crew neck on.
Yep.
I feel perfect. I'm not sweating. I'm not freezing. It's beautiful out. Blue skies. Unbelievable.
I guess maybe I just should toot my own horn here because I almost never get to do this. How flawless for the weather you just described is this War Road jacket?
Oh my God, dude. Everything.
I was trying to pick out my War Road outfit today, and I got the hoodies, I got the joggers, I got everything. This jacket, which is a snap button, by the way. Did you hear that? Let me do that.
Do it again. Do it one more time.
Let me do that again, dude.
One more time. I love that.
Snap button, perfectly light, perfect weather, perfect jacket.
It's fantastic.
Unbelievable. We're firing.
I took the red eye.
Yeah, you did.
I posted on the IG. I'm sure you saw it. I had my whole War Road fit in the airport. Wonderful. She's from Minnesota.
Yep.
Probably 60-year-old woman. I got a "Are you a pro athlete?" comment from her.
Did you lie? Did you lie to her face?
It caught me off guard so bad because it was when we landed in Boston, and I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
And I laughed, and I was like, "What made you say that?" And she was like, "Well, you got the athletic fit on." I just thought, and I was like,
She thought you were suiting up tonight, Dan.
Yeah.
She thought you were third D pairing tonight.
I got the call up. Gonna get tossed out there.
Kill a few penalties.
Playing with Pete tonight. Listen, we are pumped to be here. Going to be in the Garden tonight for Game 2, but we've got so much to talk about. So we've got to jump into this episode, and we're going to start, as always, with No Bucky Warm-Up. But No Bucky Warm-Up is now going to be the 5 favorite stories going on in the NHL right now in these playoffs. Our top 5 to break down how we're feeling. Start me off, CP.
Number 5. The last 2 series start tonight. This episode's coming out Tuesday. We're here Monday. The last 2 series start tonight. So, obviously, it's Oilers-Kings, it's Vegas-Dallas. We did our Western Conference preview. If you haven't watched the Western Conference preview, pause your Spotify, pause your YouTube, pause your Apple Podcasts right now. Go listen to the Western Conference preview. Hurry before the games start. Come back and finish this episode. Okay? So, since we did our breakdown, I don't want to dive into it that hard, but what I did want to do with you, Dan, is just go through each of the 4 teams and give people a player to keep your eye on from each of the 4 teams.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay, so Oilers-Kings, let's start. Let's start with Oilers. You want me to go first, or you want to go first?
Yeah, you can go first.
Oilers, I'm going Zach Hyman. Okay, there's literally no reason to think that his season won't continue. He's still certainly playing on Connor McDavid's wing. Mm-hmm. And, dude, look at this cool stat I dug up for you, all right? Last 2 seasons, his playoffs in Edmonton, and I'm going to go the 2 seasons before that in Toronto. 3 seasons before that even. 7 games, 1 point, 5 games, 3 points, 7 games, 1 point. Those were his 3 seasons in Toronto, last 3 on the playoffs. Edmonton, Dan, 16 games, 16 points, 12 games, 11 points. Been a point-per-game guy in the playoffs the last 2 years, even though in the last 2 regular seasons with the Oilers, 36 and 76, 39 and 79. So, he was already stepping it up in the playoffs.
For sure.
Proven. So for him to have the season he had this year, if he delivers again in the playoffs, and I about the Oilers' depth with RNH not having the year he had last season. But if he continues to fire the way he has in the playoffs, that's a huge factor for them.
I love it. I love that one. I'm going to go. This is not going to be surprising. Yep. We all know I'm a defensive guy. My knee jerk that I wanted to say, because I wanted to go a little off base here, was Darnell Nurse.
Okay.
Because that's the type of guy, to me, that if he can dig deep and reach back to the Darnell Nurse that got him the contract he's currently playing on, that's a huge difference maker. But I'm not going to go Darnell.
Okay. I love it. I love it.
I am going to go with my boy, who I've been stroking off, glucking the last couple of weeks, Evan Bouchard.
Yep. Unbelievable year.
Back-to-back unbelievable years. That said, Bouchard, big point guy. Point per game this season. Just about, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
I think he hit it.
82?
I think it was 82 on the dot.
Yeah.
Look that up for me while I'm saying this.
Sure.
Evan Bouchard in 28 games in his playoff career. 7 goals, 19 assists. You'll love to see that. So that's 26 points in 28 games for a defenseman. This is my whole point about Evan Bouchard. But here is the thing. What do you think I'm going to bring up right now?
Plus minus.
Plus minus daddy. Evan Bouchard for this Edmonton Oilers team.
82 and 81.
82 and 81. There you go. Evan Bouchard for this Oilers team. He is their top defenseman. He is pumping in points. Top 5 in the NHL in defensemen this year in points. 7 goals, 19 assists for 26. That's quick math. Yeah, 26 points in 28 games in his playoff career. He's a -8. Can't happen.
Can't happen.
Can't happen. So keep eyes on Evan Bouchard. I want to see him getting out his point production like he always does. I want to see if he can lock down and improve that plus minus. Because that, to me, and that's not just on Bouchard, but when you're logging the minutes he's logging, when you're that number one guy, you're going to be on PP. He's going to do some PK time. 5v5 is where I'm focused most. Yep. You can't get scored on. That's what I want to see from this Oilers team. That's what I want to see from Bouchard in general.
I absolutely love it. You got a Kings guy? Do you want me to go Kings first?
You can go.
I might take your guy. You sure?
Yeah, that's okay with me.
I wrote down a couple, but
that's okay with me.
But I'm going QB. I'll tell you why, Dan. Last season,
but honor his nickname, dude.
Cube. We're going Cube.
We can call him QB as long as we then specify
it's Cube,
aka Cube.
Last season was his first real taste of playoff action. 6 games, 1 goal, 3 assists, 4 points, -5. Not bad at all, honestly. This year, Dan, was his breakout year. 55 points, 20 goals. We've been singing his praises all season. They need him to produce. I don't know where he's going to be in the lineup yet, but wherever it is, we got to have it from him. So my eyes are locked on Cube for this entire first round.
I like it. I like it a lot. What's up, boys?
Let's go.
Okay. My pick, looking at last year, against the Oilers again. Who led the way? Juice. 8 points, 6 games. Right behind him, Kopi, 7 points, 6 games. Love to see that. A lot of the guys really did step up and played really, really well. I love the Cube pick. For me, I want more from Fiala.
Yeah, and I don't know where he's going to play either, honestly.
He finished the season great. What I really love about this Kings team, and we don't need to
it's in the preview. Yeah.
It's in the preview. I really love how balanced their big boys are. Mm-hmm. They're all in that 70-point range. Fiala last season in the playoffs only played 3 games. 1 goal.
And he was battling to get back, remember?
Battling to get back. 1 goal, 5 assists, 6 points. That's good.
It's fantastic.
I want Fiala. I want more of that. Fiala's always a little bit more on the assist side. I want more of that balance, though. Like I want him through 7 games when they defeat the Oilers in 7. I want 4 and 5 from him.
Yep.
You know, I want to see that balance. I want to see him pumping in goals. I want to see him getting a lot of those assists, setting up plays with that great vision that he has. I think a healthy Kevin Fiala with this team, with the way that they're kind of starting to rediscover that December rip that they were on, I want to see that Fiala right out the gate in these playoffs. I want 2 points from Fiala in game 1.
I love that because a healthy Fiala, all playoffs last year, they might have got by the Oilers.
Absolutely.
Let's go to Vegas, Dallas. Vegas. Do you want me to go first?
No.
Okay, go.
I'm going to go first. Obvious one, maybe. I'm going to start with Dallas, Robo.
Oh, okay.
So Robo had a less explosive year than he did last season. in my opinion, a more balanced year.
Okay.
Snapping it around a little bit. Not necessarily worried about all the goals.
A quietly sick year, too, by the way. Not to his standard, but you know what I mean? I feel like everyone thinks Robo did shit this year, and I'm like, he had fucking 80 points.
Yeah, like, it's absurd. I really like the idea. Dude, Robo is so fucking good.
Yeah.
And this is something I don't think I really acknowledged until this season, which is one of the great things about this job. One of the things I love about this job so much, and I love about the fans so much. I am so used to watching every game and every team. People get on us in the comments sometimes in the DMs being like, you never talk about this team. You never talk about that team. And to an extent, they're right with certain teams. Like Habs fans a couple times this year have been like, dude, you never talk about the Habs. And I'm like, you know what? That's fair. You're also in like last place. So there's not much. And that's not a chirp. I'm saying it's hard when you're talking about, you know, the big stories in the league. It's hard to talk about some of the last place teams because it's like, well, you're not, what do you want me to say? Dallas is always on the tip of our tongue because I think we both really rate Dallas. You're a huge Otter guy. I'm a huge Miro guy. We also love Joey Tipdrill. I feel like we talk about them a lot, and I didn't acknowledge the fact that the league doesn't talk about them. They're not highlighted that much. They're in a huge American city, but maybe not one of the biggest hockey cities. So their fans feel like we're this amazing team. We don't get the shine maybe that we deserve. And that is true, and it points towards what I'm saying in that Robo is so fucking good. Yeah. And, you know, he's an all-star in last season, and I don't think people really focus on him on a league-wide standpoint. So this is me saying that kid
Put eyes on him.
Insane. He's a huge body. People don't really realize that. So, end of rant.
Robo.
I got eyes on Robo in, I think maybe he had a more focused, more balanced, leveled season so that playoffs, he can go.
Because I remember him being kind of quiet, at least the beginning of playoffs last year, so looking to avoid that.
He was very quiet last playoffs. Very quiet. We were all over him, and I was like, dude, get on the fucking score sheet.
100 points, dog.
Finally popped in a goal. I want him early out the gate, and I want him dominant. I could see Robo stepping up and going David Krejci playoff mode here. Like, I am the guy, and I want to see it.
I got Otter. Think you knew I was going there, but here's why. Statistically, this was the worst season of his career. Statistically.
Yeah.
I know he had some great games, but you just look at the numbers.
Yeah.
Playoffs last year for Otter, Dan, 19 games, right? 306 goals against, 895 save percentage.
Yeah. Bad.
Playoffs.
Hey. Not great, Bob.
Playoffs the year before, 7 games against the Flames, 181 goals against, 954 save percentage.
Nuclear. Who won that series?
Fucking Oppenheimer, dude.
Who won that series?
The Stars won the cup, right?
No.
I think they won the cup.
They didn't.
Which Otter are you getting? Because that's what he's capable of.
I know.
He almost stole that series.
I want it, too.
You know, so that's what I mean, though, Dan. And this is a fucking bloodbath. You got Vegas. My eyes are squarely on my boy. He's my favorite goalie in the league, tied with Swayman. And I hope they both.
Hey, nice save.
I hope they both absolutely tear it up.
Yeah.
Vegas, who you got?
Aiden Hill. I'm going goalie on the other side. What's interesting is I think there's questions of who's even starting for this team. You know, absolutely a situation where Logan Thompson could get the net, but I just think after what Aiden Hill did for you last playoffs, you've got this young guy who just went lights out. You have to start him. He's coming off an injury. Vegas is healthy again. Mark Stone's back. Hurdle's in the lineup. You've got some of these new additions. I think I'm not worried about anyone on Vegas.
Yep.
Ikes is going to get his cookies. Mark Stone is going to go old man Stone on everybody. Marshy's going to just pump in goals. I'm not worried about any of those guys. I'm not worried about Hannafin having a good playoff year. He's going to. It's all Hill for me.
Okay.
If Hill is healthy, I don't even need him to be lights out. But if Hill is healthy and if he's playing competent goaltending for this team, everyone who's going, Vegas is overrated, dude. Like, everyone's so worried about Big Bang. Oh, LTIR Vegas. There's been a bunch of people recently who've been like, they're not that fucking good. If Hill, just even 90% of Hill last year, how are you not terrified?
Look out.
How are you not terrified?
Mine's a 2-for-1. Stoner and Pietrangelo, full contact participants at practice on Saturday. Yeah. Get fucked, everybody. They're both playing, but
get absolutely fucked.
I'm excited to see, though, because it's playoff hockey, and you're playing, in my opinion, one of the top 2 teams in the league. And so is there rust? Are you ready to go? So I'm watching those guys tight.
And what's so interesting is this seems like it's so old hat for them. Yeah. I think they're going to, Stoner's probably going to come out and just like have 3. Have a 2-point night, and we're going to be like, okay.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, Sean just texted. He said he's 9 out now. I think we can do one more.
Yeah, hell yeah, we can.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Number 4 news story this week. All the big cats were eating for the Panthers in Game 1.
Dude.
Sam Reinhart picks up right where he left off, bang, goal. Carter Verhaeghe, bang, goal. Matthew Tkachuk, bang, goal. 3-2 win. And I should say Tampa got Hagel and Stammer too, so it was kind of everybody's firing there. But how often do we talk about, Dan, guys vanish in the playoffs? You got to get the monkey off your back right away. How fucking fired up are you if you're a Panthers fan where you're like, Bob played insane and our 3 best players scored?
And talk about, what a series.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see fireworks tonight in Dallas, Vegas. But god damn, the Battle of Florida is just so good. And I said in our Eastern Conference preview, I thought Tampa would beat any team that they drew except Florida. And that Game 1 just felt like such a microcosm of that point. It was like, look how close it was.
2-1 game, really, right? Because Tkachuk, empty netter, and then Stammer. Well, I shouldn't rule out Stammer, because Stammer's was a power play goal. Maybe they had him pulled, I can't remember. But you know what I mean? Like, 2-1 till late.
And it just played tight. Both goalies played great. Mm-hmm. That's like your... if you're a Florida fan, it's interesting to say. If you're a Tampa fan, you lost, but I think you feel good about that game. You're on the road.
Said that, dude. He was like, their home crowd. And I think, too, what I thought was interesting was Cooper said, too, they weren't ready to play at the beginning. Well, that's such a ridiculous comment. They were ready to play, but Florida took it to them for the first 12 minutes. Then it felt like Tampa really settled in, and Matthew Tkachuk had a quote that was like, in the middle there, we were getting pounded, and we, all of a sudden, Bob was bailing us out for a full stretch of that middle. Only 19 shots for Tampa on the whole game, and you'd like more than that. But to your point, it was like both goalies faced an absolute barrage at stretches and stood the test. And as you said to open this conversation, you're chill. Tampa's job was to take 1 here, I would say. And actually, by the way, Tampa was not significantly, but they were a much better home team this year than they were on the road. So even if they dump 2, I don't think that locker room is that worried. They're like, let's just go home and win 2 games. You know what I mean? So, they aren't stressing at all right now.
Yeah, I love that for them. And is there a more pro-vet team to have that attitude and really believe it? They're, like you just said, they're on the road. You lose Game 1, no big fucking deal, dude. You played fantastic. You held them to 2, a real, hey, they all count. But you held them to 2 goals, then an empty netter. I think you feel fantastic about the performance. Obviously, you love seeing Hagel and Stammer get the goals. If you're Florida, you feel just as good, if not a little bit better. Because exactly what you said. All the big dogs eating. Bob's playing great. You looked like you controlled the ice against an insanely good team. Held your own, for the most part, on special teams. This is that Florida team that we've all been worried about. So to see them, that was a Game 1 punch by Tampa.
Yes.
Like that was great performance by Vasi, and then just like a hard-nosed game, and you wore it on the chin and won. Got to feel fantastic.
I also loved how it was. I'm going to forget the exact scores now, but we brought up in the Eastern preview, Florida tagged them like 9-2 at some point in midwinter. But then most recently, Tampa beat them pretty good. I forget what it was, but I think it was like 7-4, something like that. And to see, I'm glad. Let's say this goes 7. There's a version where it's like, and we kind of saw this in the playoffs last year. It's like 7-2 one way, 6-1 the other way, just blowout. And you're still trading wins, but it's just blowouts.
Yeah.
I'm so much more into the fucking 3-2 bloodbath, 7 games in a row. And I was pumped to see these 2 teams, which we have both said is such a savage first-round matchup, come out and play such a tight one right away, because it really sets the table for what I think is going to be exactly that script the rest of this series.
Yeah.
I'd be very surprised if one of these teams takes a beat down in one of these games. Could happen, obviously, but I'd be very surprised.
I'd be shocked as well. Okay, number 3, our third big story of the week. Slick Willy is questionable, if not doubtful, for Game 2 here in Boston.
For those people, he didn't play Game 1. He played 82 games, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. 40 tucks, 58 assists. 40 tucks, 58 assists, 98-point season. Everything, for all the people DMing us, I don't know.
Yeah, and that's a true, we're not hearing anything. Everyone in our circle is very confused as to what's
Everybody's saying this. He woke up didn't even happen in Game 82. And that can be bullshit, obviously. We could find out after. Bergeron last year comes to mind.
Yes.
But they're saying nothing happened. He woke up with something feeling very stiff. I don't know what that something is. Yeah. I don't know how stiff. I wake up with something feeling stiff, but I think we're probably talking different issues here. If you get my meaning.
Mine's not an issue, pal.
Yeah, I hope it happens.
It's really insignificant, but it's not an issue.
Yeah, exactly. So he's hurt. He did not play Game 1. He skated this morning. It's Monday afternoon we're recording. He skated this morning at Warrior alone on a fresh sheet. People were there, and the reports were he looked very labored. He was practicing one-timers. Shots were missing the net. He's hunched over between drills. Maybe he skates tonight. Maybe he guts it out. I don't know, but it is a major issue.
Yeah.
Matthews, Marner, toe drags, 0 points in Game 1. And I'm not saying if Nylander had been there, it's a difference maker, but he's a difference maker.
Of course he is.
You need him in the building. Let me hit you with this, Dan. And I know most people know this, but this just blew my mind.
Yeah.
The Maple Leafs have lost 8 straight regular and postseason games to the Bruins, including 5 this season. Mm-hmm. And they have lost 6 consecutive playoff series to Boston, including 4 since 2013.
Yep.
They have gone 8 consecutive playoff games scoring 2 goals or less.
It's not good. Listen, I really love Willy so much.
Me too.
I think he's just such a fun person, such a fun player, so you hate to see someone injured at any point. We don't know anything. You said it. This feels incredibly similar to Patrice Bergeron last year. It's one of the situations where I don't know if he got injured in Game 82. I don't know what happened, but what just awful timing. Dude. For one of your star players, 40 goals, I think 90 points.
98, dude. That's what I was saying before.
Is 98.
You just missed it, yeah.
It's so crazy that you can have the season that you do. You're buzzing all season long. You play 82 games,
yep.
And then this happens.
Nothing would make me happier as a fan than the Bruins to beat the Leafs, obviously.
Yeah.
To beat them in fucking 5, like I said. But you don't even want to do it this way. And I'm sure there are super diehard Bruins fans that are like, you're an idiot. I hope they all break their leg and we win. But I'm just like, I don't know, man. It bums me up for Willy, I guess.
Okay.
Or I'm just like, man, I would like him to be participating.
I was about to disagree with you, but I now agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm bummed for Willy. I don't. People get injured all the time, and that's not to downplay anyone's injury, but I wouldn't, if I were a member of this Bruins team as a Bruins fan, I wouldn't sit here and go, oh, it feels less because we beat them without Willy. I feel bad because of Willy.
Yeah.
You don't want to log the slog that is that 82-game season and then finally get to playoffs, the ultimate goal, and then not be able to play. Yep. Or even if he does get on the ice, not be able to play at 100%. That fucking sucks. The Leafs can't afford this for so many reasons. Obviously, you're losing a 98-point, 40-goal guy from your lineup. That's a fucking devastating blow. The bigger one, not bigger. The equally large one for me is the emotional blow.
Yeah.
You as a team, as a franchise, as a fan base, you can't have anything else on top of this series.
Your second leading scorer in whatever we find out. It's either bad luck, Game 82, and they've said it's not off ice, or it's like playing sewer ball, and you're like, fuck me, dude.
Yes.
You just can't. I agree. It is a mental psyche.
You have your first round demons, you have your Boston Bruin demons, and now this, just a blow like this is added to it. Honestly, watching them come out, I thought Boston ragdolled them in Game 1. It was just, you get goals from Boston in places that you didn't expect.
I wanted to ask you about that. Interesting goal scorers.
Very interesting. And if you're the Bruins, that is the best case scenario in the world. And it has to feel amazing. And Toronto just looked deflated all game. And I wouldn't blame them if part of them was going into that game being like, Jesus Christ, Willy is out. We're back in Boston here. We haven't beat them all year. 8 straight losses, like you just said, to them going from last year to this year. And now Willy's out. I wouldn't blame them for just being deflated in that game. So I'm incredibly curious to see how they play tonight, because either that was a that was a devastating blow we didn't expect. Willy's out tonight. I'm not. I mean, we'll know by the time you guys hear this. But if Willy's out tonight, they'll know. And if they come out unfazed, buzzing, get a win tonight, or have a close game, then I'm like, game on. We're okay. But if Boston handles them again tonight, and this isn't one of those like, oh, what a daring call, Dan. If Boston goes up 2-0 in the series, they're going to sweep. I really mean if they go up 2-0 and it feels like another shit kicking, I don't know. I don't see Toronto
morale low, dude.
Don't see Toronto
real low.
Many games.
You said it, man. 35 stops from my favorite goalie in the league, tied with Otter.
Well done,
Swayman. But he played fantastic.
God, he played fantastic. He played. That was that sick thought.
Yes, dude, exactly.
Swayman,
and remember in his interview when he was like, "It's just stop the puck." Like you see that clip with Matthews when he's like 8 miles out of the net. He don't care, dude. There's no technique other than stop the puck.
Sway is a sick person, and in the best way. And he was so dialed that game.
This is what Montgomery said.
It's amazing.
In terms of who's playing tonight, because we don't know still.
Yeah.
It's 3 o'clock.
Yeah, it's 3 p.m. on game day, and we still don't.
Montgomery says it would be very hard to go away from Swayman in Game 2. He played a terrific game. We win 5-1. But if we decided to go with Allmark, we're comfortable with it, and our team's comfortable with it. Going back to Game 2 and then starting Allmark in Game 3, this is the article talking, would make a lot of sense. But Montgomery still hasn't revealed his final decision. We're not going to learn who's starting until pregame warmups.
What do you want to happen?
I want Swayman to play.
I want Allmark to play.
And I don't hate what they suggest going Game 3.
To me, it gets, no matter the result almost, it gets harder.
Oh, agree with that.
If Sway starts tonight and wins, it gets harder to go to Allmark, even if that was your plan.
That's a fair point.
If Sway starts today and loses, I think it looks almost like a panic move, or not a panic move, but it looks like he lost. So now Allmark goes in, and nothing gets in Sway's head. So I'm not saying Sway would be like, oh fuck, I lose one and I get yanked, because it's probably all they probably know exactly what they're doing.
True.
But it does get harder. I think I would love to see, if they're gonna do it, I would love to see them do it now. Put Allmark in and just go like this.
You might convince me.
Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. That's what I would love to see if they're gonna do it
the whole way.
Yeah. But I would also love to see Sway just win 16 straight games.
Come on.
Fucking unbelievable.
Number 2 storyline this week. I titled, Matt Rempe, you son of a bitch.
You son of a bitch. Unbelievable. I mean, the fact that he got the first goal, everyone had those questions like, should you even dress him in the playoffs? Because let's be honest, he's come out here, he's been an unbelievable fighter, he's had a great attitude, but his play on the ice, does it necessarily warrant a roster spot? I'm not sure. But then he came in and he was buzzing. He was flying around doing exactly the job he wanted to do. He bangs in a goal. And
but MSG was going to explode.
Yeah. And then he has those comments after the game where he's like, I feel like I was built for playoffs. And part of me is like, shut the fuck up, dude. But the other part of me is like, that's exactly what he should say. He's doing everything right.
Even crazier, Dan, when 2 minutes into the game, because he scored in the second period, it was 0-0 after 1. 2 minutes into the game, he takes a boarding penalty, and the Rags go on the PK, and I was like, I literally had the hot takes ready. This is why you don't dress Rempe. Yeah. This is what we said. He's too out of control once playoffs start. He's going to do something stupid. The Caps are going to score a power play goal here, and the whole series is off the rails. And then they kill it off, and then he scores, and I was like, never mind. You're the guy.
I've been saying it for months, dude. Just everything's coming up Avs. The whole Rempe experiment has been smashing success, and now here we are in playoffs, and it's a smashing success. It's been one game, but that was awesome.
Yep. And it actually was awesome watching how fired up. And people are saying that everywhere the fourth line did it, but it was great to see Brett score. It was great to see Ziba pass to Kreider, even strength for the goal. But Jimmy Vesey getting one, Rempe getting one. Yeah. The Rangers aren't even at their full potential there.
Vintage Kreider goal, too. Sick. Nice little deep backhand that doesn't come off the ice and somehow finds its way.
Bang goal. OV, 0 shots. Fourth time in his playoff career. Yeah, 0 shots on goal. Oshie, 0 shots. Strome, 1 shot.
Stifled.
Good point, Dan. Give the Rangers credit, but also, if you're the Caps guys, OV did that to start this year, right? It was 2 games with no shots, and then he, second half of the season, turned into vintage OV. I picked them to get swept, but if they're even going to steal 1 game, the boys got to put the puck on net.
Yeah, I mean, that was huge. All right, the number 1 story. Avs Jets. Good God Almighty.
Whew. Oh, my God, Dan. Woo. An absolute slugfest. An absolute slugfest in Winnipeg.
Just crazy. I mean, what else is there to say? We knew that this series was going to be elite. There was a lot of question marks about Georgiev and his mentality right now. Obviously, you want to just take a second at all times to just like say, you know, you hope he's fine mentally, everything like that. And I think he probably is. But he's been overplayed, I thought. I think he's played so
63
much.
63 starts, I think.
And, yeah, I mean, shit. That game was just mental. It was just goal after goal after goal after goal. It was so much fun, so electric. I was shocked how many goals LABATT gave up.
Yes,
honestly, it's like
he still made 40 saves, but 6 went by him.
6 went by him,
and I wouldn't even say those were his fault.
No,
but 6 went by him.
Yeah, it goes to show how good the Avs are, how much firepower they have. But then also there were the comments of, you know, maybe Winnipeg's not that real, maybe they're not that serious of a team, and here you go, you slap Colorado in the mouth and put 7 by them. That's insane.
But the second, like you had said last on the Western preview app, they've tagged them 3 times and tagged them. Yeah. So to do it again. Dude, and you brought this up too. I wrote this exact number down. Winnipeg, 199 goals against, lowest in the league.
Yep.
Avs 304 goals for, highest in the league.
Yep.
This is how. Remember that Flames Oilers series 2 years ago when it turned into a track meet, and I'm like, this is not how you want to play the Oilers. The Oilers. If you're the Jets, this is not how you want to play the Avs at all.
Yeah.
A lot of guys said that. Velarde said it, but at this point in the season, you get a win. It doesn't matter how it happened. And in fact, when you look back on this series, I'm sure a 13-goal game is one the Jets expected to lose. And the fact that they won this one that way, and I'm predicting this goes 7, that could be all the difference right there.
Totally.
I thought that was fascinating. When Nichushkin scored right away, I was like, here we go.
Yeah.
Fucking Avs.
Dude, the difference makers, man. The difference makers came out. Like, we had Nichushkin listed as a guy that was going to be a difference maker, and then Kyle Connor was another one, and he has 2 goals. The thing that I think that you are really excited about with Winnipeg is, like, that's a big win to get in front of your home crowd against an amazing team. Shows that you're ready to score. Tough, 0 goals, 0 assists, and you know he's going to get going at some point. So it's like you've got a lot of firepower happening right now.
Incredible. I'm salivating for the rest of that series.
Same. So every game is going to be so good.
All right, let's get into hot ice. This week I have one question for you, Dan. I wrote it this way: comfortable wins? ? Because we're looking at 2 series, the Canes Islanders series and the Canucks Preds series. Both favorite teams, both home teams win by 2. On paper, maybe you check the box score and you go, they're cruising. I'm certainly all over the Canes. Like, they're going to sweep the Islanders.
Yeah.
And I have picked the Preds, but I'm sure Canucks fans are like, yeah, we won. The interesting thing I felt like is, let's start with the Canes.
Yeah.
They are 1-1. Kuzik scores a power play goal right away. You're like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
But then it's 1-1 into the third. Freddie Anderson makes an insane diving save, and he played fantastically.
Unbelievable.
I thought.
Unbelievable.
And you get one pretty close after that, and then you win 3-1. There were significant stretches
Whole
of that
second period. Whole second period.
The Islanders are all over them.
Yeah.
So Rod said we weren't great after the game. Wah said we feel pretty good. We've been resilient since I got here. We knew we were going to have to be resilient in this series. We feel all right. So it's one of those games where I'm like, you got the win. You took care of business at home ice game 1, but I'm like, I don't know how good that felt, honestly.
Yeah, man. I mean, the way I look at it is we've been clowning on the Islanders a bit with all the sweep talk, but since Wad, they have been a different team. And while we make the jokes about the negative goal differential and them being in the playoffs, end of the day, with Wad, they're in the positive goal differential. And they won the games they had to win down the stretch.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we say, you know, if you win the games that matter and get you into playoffs, you're in playoffs. I think they're going to be a hard team to play against constantly. I do think the Canes are just much better. And frankly, this is why this Canes team is good.
Yeah.
I mean, with the exception of that one huge, I mean, there was a bunch of great saves. He had that one, Freddie had that one insane save. While the Islanders were kind of pumping them, shots were way higher. The ice was definitely tilted in their favor. They weren't getting that many crazy high danger chances. And I think Carolina's happy to weather the storm. They're good at that. Their defense is phenomenal. Their goaltending's been phenomenal. And they know that they're going to capitalize on their chances, which they did.
Yeah.
So if you're the Islanders, you should feel good about that game. But the difference is you can do that all day long, and Carolina's going to be fine with you knocking on the door if they never push it open. So you have to fucking score.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're going to keep going like this. We feel pretty good, and you're going to get swept out of the playoffs.
Yeah, we felt pretty good for 4 games. And then
like if they have another game, let's say they outplay them again, which, again, Canes fans, when I say that Islanders were beating the shit out of you, I didn't say they were going to win. I said they're beating the shit out of you.
Play.
You can take that all day long and be happy with it. But if the Islanders win or outplay them another game and lose, I'm not okay with Waugh being like, we feel pretty good again. Because it's like, dude, you got to score goals. You got to steal games. Obviously, they know that. But it is one of those things. It's like you can have the ice tilted in your favor all day, but if you don't score, makes sense, right? That plays into the other team's hand. It's not like they're sitting there being like, oh, my God, we got away with one. Carolina's going, no, we're fine with this game plan. So you have to change something.
The Canes lost both home games to the Islanders during the regular season, and to come here at home and get outshot 34-26 and win, you go like this. Thank you. See you later. Exactly. Similar deal, Canucks-Preds. Canucks win 4-2. We're down 2-1 with 11 minutes left in the third. I think it was actually Suter that got it, not Quinn. But Quinn gets one on the cage, and then Joshua scores 12 seconds later, completely sucks the life out of the building. Joshua finishes with one more. Canucks win by 2. Everyone's happy. Didn't feel very happy through 50 minutes of that game.
Yeah, listen, I hopped on the IG and I went big on and this is what I said in the Western Conference preview. I was like, I love the Preds, but I don't think that this Canucks team is a young, scared team that's going to feel like the playoffs are too big for them, and I stand by that. But of all the games we mentioned, Tampa against Florida, Islanders against Carolina, those teams going, we lost, but we feel pretty good. If you're Nashville, you feel the best of those teams.
Yeah,
because that is a game, again, you can't live on 2 goals, dude. You cannot. 2 goals are not going to win you playoff games. But if you're Nashville, you had a very momentary lapse of play, and you let into quick goals, and otherwise you won that game.
And Dan, I would even say, to just piggyback on you, I think they were playing their best right before that shift. Like, they were actually taking over the game, and I was like, this is done.
And Elias Lindholm, massive shout out to Elias Lindholm. He has not had the best stretch since that trade, and there's been a lot of pressure put on him and a lot of expectations. He came into this game, immediately got on the score sheet, and then he made his forecheck made that third goal happen. He got in behind the net fast, broke up the play, got the puck free, pass out front, goal. So to see him play that well, if you're a Canucks fan, damn, does that feel good? And you better believe it feels great for him as well.
If you're a Preds fan, the Ryan O'Reilly, Nyquist, Forsberg link up, albeit on the power play, but just to get them going, like I said, that's the line. So if you're not scoring, you're dead. That was fantastic. Let's go, baby. So that was huge. I agree with you completely. Maybe if you're Nashville, you're like, damn, we gave one away on the road there. But I'm in that locker room being like, boys, we had them. No Dan, doubt. The Demko looked good. 20 of 22. Sorrow 17 of 20. Very interesting. I think that'll be a crazy storyline, because I was banging the trade Saros drum. They get so hot they make the playoffs. Yeah. But now I'm like, God damn, I need you now, buddy.
I don't put any stock in that, though, because those 2 goals were. Fair. I think those were his defensemen and the guys around him's error, not his. And it happened so quick, I almost wipe it off the board. It's like, up to that point, I was like, you gave him 1 goal, dude. And honestly, sometimes when there's that few shots, it's almost worse, because he's like, I haven't seen any rubber today. True. So what do you want from me?
So true. Okay, so we'll be interested to see how those series shake out.
Yes, we will.
Let's throw it to Sean.
Let's toss this over to our boy, Sean McDonough. Unbelievable, iconic sports anchor. Has done it all in the world. What a fun time.
Some amazing stories in this one. Can't wait for you guys to hear it. All right, everybody. We are joined today. See if I can do this one. This might be the hardest one I've ever done.
It might be.
With no notes.
Yeah, no notes. Right here.
Wow.
A Syracuse Orange alum.
You're 1 for 1.
A Boston native.
2 for 2.
Surely our Boston followers will recognize you as the voice of 1 billion Red Sox games on TV and radio. A man who has called March Madness games, an Orange Bowl, the College World Series, Monday Night Football, the U.S. Open tennis, the PGA Championships, the British Open, the Masters, 3 Winter Olympics.
Wow.
Okay. Unbelievably impressive. He was, at the time, the youngest man ever to call a World Series game, a National Sports Broadcaster of the Year award winner, multiple sports Emmy winners, the current voice of the NHL playoffs on ESPN and ABC, and most importantly, our friend.
Well,
Sean McDonough, welcome
that's
to
the
the
most important part of it to me, too.
Yes,
that was
absolutely.
very impressive. I don't think I ever was National Sportscaster of the Year, unless my family gave out the award.
Okay.
In which case, I might have been.
Yes, that one's from us. That one's from us.
Come close. I've been a finalist a few times.
There it is. Yeah.
Well,
I'm like Susan Lucci. She never won the Emmy. I get nominated a lot, but more deserving people win.
Let us tell you, we're so pumped to have you here. This is amazing.
This happened by accident. We met in a weight room in a hotel in Hoboken, New Jersey.
Sure did.
I had burpee envy watching you two guys jumping around all over the place. So I was just looking for the vending machine where I could get like a ring ding or whatever. Do they still make those?
Yes,
absolutely.
Definitely they do.
That's why I do all the burpees, so I can eat those.
It's working for you two. Are impressively fit. That's usually when people like you are in there, I just leave because I feel inadequate. But I kind of needed the work.
Hey, well, you know what? I got to say, no one else was in the gym grinding during Stadium Series.
It was just us three.
That's half the battle right there.
And probably one of the nicest compliments I could give you guys. There were 4 teams of the Stadium Series. I thought, these guys must play for one of these teams.
That is an
So I thought you were an Islander or a Flyer, a New Jersey Devil, or a New York Ranger.
That right there is the only reason I keep working out.
Yes,
it's just
exactly.
like that illusion that maybe I am in the league somehow.
Yep.
So there you go. That's great. But yeah,
and
we
you kept bothering me with the hair.
I was. The hair was longer than
I had mine up. Yeah.
And I was flipping it a lot.
A lot of flipping.
Yeah. But we obviously, for those who didn't catch on, Stadium Series in Hoboken, New Jersey, this is how we met. Our mutual friend Chris Rooney also is keeping us connected. But I can't tell you how many of our friends from growing up, like Chris mentioned, with all the Red Sox memories, as this was leading up and we were talking and getting this set up, so many of our Boston buddies were like, oh my God, I can't wait for the stories that you're going to get.
Well, you know what? I guess that's when you know you're getting old, right? Because people remember, we just did the Masters a few weeks ago now, and the par 3 contest. And this year, we had some of the players who had AirPods in and wore a microphone for a hole or two. And we just walk, and they were walking and talking, and we were interviewing. It was really fun.
Yeah.
So one of them was Keegan Bradley. And as soon as I started talking, he's a huge Red Sox. As soon as I started talking to him, he's like, this is the voice of my childhood in my ear here. I think, oh, gosh. But I guess it was that long ago. So, yeah, it's nice that people associate you with parts of their life.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, that's a perfect segue into, we're going to get into hockey eventually, but we have to talk about Red Sox because obviously we grew up with that, and there's so much of your life that's tied to that. Your dad was writing for the Globe. You were kind of jammed in the radio booth growing up.
Yeah.
And then you started getting into this game, and you got your reps in with the Syracuse Chiefs games, calling those.
Wow, you both did your homework.
And then I had some college hockey in there as well, but then, you've said multiple times that core memory for you, 1988, calling opening day at Fenway Park for the Boston Red Sox. And that was one of those first holy shit moments for you.
Well, when my dad would take us to spring training when he was covering the Red Sox, when I was really young, 5, 6 years old maybe, the Red Sox were still training in Winter Haven, Florida. So 6, 7, 8 years old maybe even. We'd get out of school for about a month. We'd get homeschooled, if you call it that. My mom, I don't remember her being very enthusiastic about that. I think it was mostly go play putt-putt and go to the pool.
Yeah.
But there was probably some education in there. The lack of education probably explains where I am today, as a matter of fact. And then we'd go over to the park in the afternoon, and the writers couldn't all bring their kids in the press box because then it would be romper room in there. But my dad was friendly with the radio announcers, Ned Martin and Ken Coleman, who were my 2 idols. And then the cool thing was in 1988 when I got there, they were both still doing the Red Sox games.
Awesome.
So I knew when I was 5 or 6 that's what I wanted to do. And then I was 25 on opening day in 1988. And I just remember sitting there. Opening day, it's like the flags on the wall and the bunting everywhere and all the pomp and circumstance. And I literally was staring at the field like, oh, my God. I'll borrow your phrase that you just used. I always hate to swear on a microphone. Today might be a first. Actually, I've done it accidentally. But, no, I just remember staring out the field like, holy crap, this is really my job.
Yeah.
I'm going to be living my childhood dream for a while.
Unbelievable.
So insane.
So, I mean, I always love looking at when you have that moment, your dad's in this world, you're a fan, then you have that, oh my gosh moment of getting to do that opening day game. And then you flash forward 20 years later, and the Sox are winning a World Series. And I want to know a couple things. One, is there part of you that, as a fan, as a professional, when you've put in all those hours, you feel like a part of the family? when that World Series was won, was there a part of you that felt like you were along that journey the whole way and it was, even more meaningful? And then 2, is it true that you have a World Series ring?
Yes. Yes, it is. Yes. The hard part when you're a local team broadcaster is the local TV announcers don't get to do the postseason in baseball.
Yes.
So you feel like you're along for the ride, and then you get there, this is the best part, and you can't do it. It's one of the fun things now about doing the radio, although since I've been doing the radio, the Red Sox have only been in the postseason once, I think. So as usual, my timing was bad. I came in the year after they beat the Dodgers in the World Series. So you kind of do, feel like you're a part of it. Although you remember, you guys being the hockey guys, remember Jacques Joubert, who played at BU.
Yeah.
I coached him in the New England Pro-Am Summer Hockey League that the O'Connells ran, maybe still do. So my buddy David Quinn, now the coach of the Sharks, was supposed to be the player coach, and he didn't want to coach. And I think it was one of the years, it might have been, was 94, the baseball work stopped. I wasn't doing anything. He said, come coach the team. I'm like, I can't coach. He said, it's a summer league, just make the lines and yell at the refs. Yeah. So I'm like, well, I can do that. So we had a good team. We had Chris Drury and Mike Greer and Todd Copeland, a bunch of guys. So anyway, now I'm losing my train. Oh, so I got to know Jacques' brother, Mark, and he became a really good friend of mine. So the year the Red Sox broke the curse, way before the fall, Mark Joubert asked me to come to his wedding in Maui I don't remember the date, late October. Yeah. So, sure. So now as it's getting closer, I'm thinking, oh, my God.
This is a nightmare.
The Red Sox are going to be in the World Series. Yeah. So now they're trailing the Yankees 3-0.
Problem solved.
I'm like, okay, this sucks, but at least I'm not going to miss the World Series.
Going to Maui.
Wing, bada bing, bada bing. So they win. So I am at Game 2 at Fenway, and I'm flying to Maui the next day. And I run into a friend of mine who's extremely wealthy and says, I'm so glad I saw you. I was going to call you. I'm taking the jet to St. Louis. We've rented a house. And he had all these, I think Lenny Clark was going with him and a bunch of guys. Come with us. It's a great seats. I'm like, okay. I can't.
No.
I said, one of my best pals is getting married in Maui.
What a good friend.
So the next morning, I'm at Logan getting ready for the, 92. I'm using my frequent flyer miles, so it's like Boston to Atlanta to Winnipeg to Honolulu to Maui, and then, if you've ever been to Maui over to Kapalua, that drives like an hour.
Yep.
So it's literally almost like a 24-hour deal. I walk into the lobby of the hotel. Mark and Christine are in the lobby of the hotel putting Hawaiian leis around the guest's neck, and she comes over and hugs me. And the first word either one of them said when I got to the hotel was Christine saying, I can't believe you came. I told Mark to tell you it's okay. The Red Sox are in the World Series.
Mark.
It's like, yeah.
Shoot me a text, Mark.
Mark, relay that message, dude.
So I was actually, 6,000 miles away, however far away Maui is. But the coolest thing, and the reason I got on the plane, my dad had not long before passed away. My dad was very much right and wrong. And I was sitting in the airport, sitting in Logan, and I'm thinking, I'm going to bail. Yeah. I'm not getting on this plane. I'm going to call my buddy. I'm going to St. Louis. They'll understand, right? And then I hear my dad's voice in my head. They're your friends. It's more important. Da, 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 da. So anyway, I went. But when the Red Sox, there were a lot of Red Sox fans there. We were all at the pool when the Red Sox got the final out. And I told everybody the story about my dad's voice in my head.
Yeah.
Like Hawaii, late afternoon, early evening, you get those little rain showers. Yeah. And then right on the final out, there was a rainbow right across the top of the hotel. And my buddy said, look, that's your dad.
Yeah. He knows they did it.
Because my dad never saw the Red Sox win the World Series. So anyway, long story.
Oh, that is incredible.
That's fantastic.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
So that was, and then you get the call, hey, would you like to help MC the celebration on City Hall Plaza? That would be great, but we're playing golf in wherever, Lanai today. Yep. So
what a great
and we were there.
But I do have the ring.
Yes, that's fantastic.
Which my nephew Jerry was never impressed by anything when he saw the ring. He was probably, late teens at the time. He looked at it, and the first thing he said, when you die, can I have that? That's a really nice thought.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, Jerry.
Well, that's the first thing that pops into your head.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Cheering on an early death so you can get the ring.
Yeah.
Well, actually, speaking of your dad, I wanted to ask you a question, and obviously it's an emotional subject, but I thought this was so beautiful. Your dad, there were a lot of comments that I found that you had brought up too from Peter King, Adam Scheffler, John Clayton, these guys that were saying this was really the first guy that was an informative writer of a huge publication to go on TV.
Correct.
And all these guys' careers, he paved the way to do that. So when you are calling all the things I expertly listed off at the top of this
really
interview,
well
how cool does that feel for you to be carrying on his legacy yourself, not just those other people, but you too?
It's so cool that I had, when my dad was at CBS, some company made baseball cards of like the people in the NFL today. And I have a laminated one in my briefcase, and I take it out every game I do, and I put it on the counter right up against the monitor. Just a reminder, like, don't say or do something douchey. You know, make your dad proud.
Yep.
Be a professional, work hard. You know, all the things that he did. Be fair.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, he was the greatest role model for me ever, on and off the air, by far. And really proud of his legacy. I mean, he was the first information man on TV. It was really by accident. The NFL Today brought him down just to do a guest thing about something he had written. And Brent Musburger told me this story himself. He said, and your dad knew like everything that was going on around the league.
Yeah.
He said, we already used to send the, you know, this is back in the day when, you know, the newspaper would come out at what time, but he said, we used to send an intern down to Times Square at like 7 o'clock on a Sunday morning. So when the Sunday Globe got there, go down there and get Will McDonough's NFL notes column so we know what's going on the show today. So my dad went down, knew a lot. Brent's like, we should bring him back again next week. And then it kind of became a segment.
That's how it started. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah.
And all those guys you mentioned have thanked me at one time or another, or mentioned to me that I'm so grateful to your dad, because if he didn't do it and do it well, then they might not have kept doing it.
Yep. And I think that's such a cool thing. Every time you read anyone talking about your job and your career, it's that wealth of sports knowledge that people love about you too. So people are going to be, young kids now are going to be thanking you someday.
Well, I just grew up. You know, I loved all the sports. I mean, we went to every game. We were sitting here at TD Garden. You know, I was to lots of games at the old Garden. Including the blizzard of '78 when we almost got stuck here when I was in high school, which is a story in of itself.
That's unbelievable.
We actually made it back to the Boston Globe, basically pushing my dad in the car down the highway from here to the Globe, a few miles south, but past every kind of abandoned car. And but yeah, saw a lot of games at Fenway Park, and I didn't grow up wanting to be a broadcaster for one particular sport. I loved all the sports. I still do. I watch everything, and so when you listed off, and I'm appreciative of that, all the things at the beginning. Like if you said when you're 25 and you started out doing the Red Sox game, could you ever imagine you would have done all those things? Absolutely not.
Right.
But I really wanted to. I get asked all the time, well, all the sports you do, which one's the favorite? And it's cop-out, but it's kind of whichever one I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Like I'm here today, I'm going to do a Bruins playoff game.
About the Bees,
Against the Leafs,
cool.
too. Yeah.
Against the Leafs.
They're all amazing.
Should be the Leaves.
Yes, I say that all the time.
I'm probably going to call them the Leaves and see if I can.
Don't do this, Sean. I don't need you two teaming up on me with this one. He's a big Leaves guy.
I always call them the Leaves. Yeah.
Listen, I get it. Grammatically, it's correct.
Right.
But I listen. It's the Leafs, and we're just going to live with it. It's one of these mistakes.
So you're going to go out in the fall and rake the Leafs?
I'm going to rake the Leafs.
Yeah. The Leaves. It's the Leaves.
The Leafs.
But one thing that's come since what happened to your dad is your golf tournament. And I wanted to ask you about that and just how much fun that's been for you to organize and how moving it's been to watch how much you get to meet the patients that you're helping save their lives. So just talk to us a little bit about that whole experience.
You hit on both of them, really. It's super fun. It's a lot of work, but it's super fun. But more than that, it's ridiculously rewarding and inspiring. My dad died in 2003, January 9th, 2003. He'd been having heart problems. They did all the traditional tests that they do, couldn't figure out, he didn't have blockages.
Yeah.
And he was, healthy and worked out all the time, played tennis and racquetball. So anyway, they couldn't figure it out. So one of the things they had mentioned to him about a month before he died was cardiac amyloidosis. What's that? It's a rare heart disease, super rare. You almost certainly don't have it. It's a 1 in a million thing.
Yeah.
Well, how do you check if I do have it? Well, we crack you open, take your heart tissue, sample it, and then if you have it, there's probably not a lot we can do. The only cure is a heart transplant.
Yeah.
And my dad was 67 years old. So he's like, well, if it's low percentage, anyway. So the day he died, he went in for a stress test. They told him you're as healthy as a 67-year-old guy can be. get off the treadmill? He said, can I ease back into working out? Yes. Can I go to the Super Bowl, which was a couple weeks later, because he had been to every one.
Yep.
And he said, yep, certainly. So he was really happy, went to dinner, came home, was watching TV with my brother, and dropped dead on the porch of our house the same day they told him.
Gosh.
So the doctors begged us to do an autopsy because they were mystified and they felt kind of guilty.
Sure.
Felt inadequate. So we did, and that's when they found out he did have cardiac amyloidosis. So we had a golf tournament for years giving money to children's charities around the state, and then that kind of ran its course. And then Brigham and Women's has the foremost cardiac amyloidosis. It's a hard thing to say. Matter of fact, every year when Charles Barkley comes, he says, can't use Charles's language.
Just got to use the acronym.
I'm here, I don't even know how to pronounce this disease. Yeah. But, so they're doing great research. So we brought the golf tournament back 5 or 6 years ago now, and it's super fun. Yeah. And and it's the people who buy the foursomes, the sponsors, the volunteers, the people at Boston Golf Club. The Sam Adams has been tremendous to us. Jim Cook. It's an army.
Yeah.
But and it's a ton of work. But when you see the people there having a great time, and you see the friendships that have been made, but more than anything, when you see, I'm sorry, it is emotional.
No, of course.
Last year, we have a speaking program the night before at the Boston Harbor Hotel, and then we have the golf tournament the next day. So all the golfers are there, the sponsors, the whole thing. And we have patience, because I want somebody to get up and speak and say, this is what it's like, this is where your money went. So there was this young man whose mom had been our speaker 2 or 3 or 4 years, probably 3 or 4 years before. And after the speaking program was over and everybody's kind of leaving, he came over to me, he said, my mom is alive because of your golf tournament. So, when you hear that, you have to keep doing it, and
Absolutely.
we're going to keep doing it till they cure it. And they're making progress. You still kind of need a heart transplant, unfortunately,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
but they can extend your life and make it a lot better and slow down the progression. So we're going to keep doing it. We've raised a lot. I mean, last year we gave them $600,000.
Incredible.
For a little 2-day event.
Over $1 million, right?
Well, I think it's 5 years, but one of them was a COVID year. We didn't even have the tournament.
Sure,
that was probably my favorite year. People sent us $80,000 and got nothing in return. They didn't have a golf tournament, a party.
Wow,
they just
such
said,
a good point.
we support the cause.
Yep.
But the last 2 years, when we've done the party and the tournament, it's been over $500,000.
Yeah,
both
incredible.
years. And
John, that's
the total's about $2.5 million so far.
Yeah.
That's really just so amazing.
It's in August, right?
Well, they need the help. One of the problems, and three of us have been talking about a friend of mine who's battling cancer, and it's really bad. Mm-hmm. And I've been spending a lot of time with him the last month and a half or so. The medical system in our country, please fix it, America, is so messed up. The drug companies and the insurance company, these doctors and nurses and people are so dedicated and so invested in it, and they're fighting so many battles that they shouldn't have to fight. And one of the problems, because they think cardiac amyloidosis is rare, the government said, not enough money, not enough people have it. We could spend our money on cancer or other things, COVID or whatever. So the money that we give to them is really meaningful. Well, it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, grant that Dr. Falk and his team get every year is the money that we send.
Incredible.
So
the big question is the golf game going to be ready with the hand?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I've been hiding my bad hand. People have probably been watching the hockey for months now, like, holy, what's going on? I mean, his finger's been wrapped up forever, but detached the tendon. It's called mallet finger.
Yep.
So this tendon here that controls the tip of your finger popped off the bone.
Yep.
So had a cast for a long time. That didn't heal it. Tried to live with it. That didn't work because I was annoying the heck out of me. And so then they went in and did surgery. So right now I have stitches that are holding the tendon to the bone, and I have a pin to keep my fingers straight.
And we healed just in time to play.
Exactly.
I'm a hockey. It's hockey
he's
playoffs.
A hockey guy.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
You're playing through it. It's going to be
hockey
great.
playoffs. You got to play hard.
It's going to be perfect in time for golf season. It's going to be great.
Well, that's why I did it now, right?
Yeah.
Everything revolves around golf, and I think, well, we're on the air almost every day for 2 months during the hockey playoffs, so not playing much golf or any golf anyway. So let's do it.
I mean, this is just perfectly timed by you for being
But like today, getting ready for this game, I'm trying to do my charts, and my handwriting already sucks, and now I'm sitting there. Yesterday we did a New York Ranger game, and I'm looking at my chart for some note that I know I wrote on there, and I have no idea what
Can't read
says.
it.
Yeah. I'm like, I had a really interesting, timely note about this, but I can't.
It's gold.
So.
Yeah.
In that case, I should have just made it up.
Yeah.
Speaking of being back in the booth, I had a really interesting thought that I wanted to bring up to you. We, our seminal moments of watching sports are all of them are with guys like you. Voices of our favorite teams. Every real fan has that. You think of those amazing calls, and I really love that there's so many different facets of the sports world. There's coaches, there's players, there's broadcasters. And it's been an interesting wave, I think, of the last several years, 10 years or so, you could call it, where we're seeing a lot more former athletes getting in the booth. And in football, you see Troy Aikman has been doing a great job. And, love him or hate him, Tony Romo adds a very, specific and personal flair to the game. And we're starting to see it more in hockey now, too, with, obviously guys like Biz and Colby Armstrong getting in there and PK's getting in there. I'm curious what you think, and Hank, obviously, too.
Yeah.
I'm curious how you feel about that as an icon of the sports broadcasting world. And it did sort of feel like there was always kind of this element that there was the guys in the booth and the guys in the field. And now they're starting to mesh a little bit more. How do you feel about that?
I think most of the, I think there are more former players and coaches involved prominently than there were before. But, as long as I've been doing this, which is a long time, it's pretty much the play-by-play person, we're talking about the games, or even the studio shows, we're generally not former players. Now, like Frank Gifford did the play-by-play on Monday Night Football for a long time. He was a great player. But when Pat Summerall was a player who was a play-by-play person. But usually, the play-by-play person, somebody like me who didn't play anything past high school, and then, then the analyst was a former player or coach. So, that's typically the way it works. And that's the way you should leave it. Like we just did the Masters, and I remember when the first time I got put on Network Golf, my golf buddy's like, they're going to let you do golf like on TV the way you play?
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to say,
ricochet shot.
I get to do football. I'm not Tom Brady.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, it's just so. But I don't sit there when Tiger Woods is in the bunker analyzing how he should hit the shot. Right? Well, you need to
get open the face up here,
make sure you accelerate through the ball, and but so I leave that to the analyst, and that's generally what I try to do, in the other sports that I do too. Now sometimes you can help lead the analyst into something like, are you surprised they're not pulling the goalie, or are you surprised they're not calling a timeout, or stuff like that. But for the most part, we should leave the analysis to the former players and coaches.
I like that. I think that it adds a good balance to that side.
And I think, but great word, I think you do need balance, and we don't need to get into this, but I thought it was really interesting hearing your quotes about the Monday Night Football experience. And one of the criticisms was it was steered a lot towards John Gruden in that moment, where it's like, just X and O this baby. And it's like, well, I'm trying to do my job too. And I think, to your point, you really need both.
Yeah, you need both. John was pretty honest. I mean, maybe the first time I talked to him after I got the job. I knew him a little bit before I got the job, but he said, I hate stories. Right? Well,
you're like, oh, shit.
I hate stories. And the reason he hates the stories is, especially if it takes 2 or 3 plays, that's 2 or 3 plays where he can't get out the telestrator and say, I call this 96 Wanda, and So he would get, sometimes visibly annoyed if something went on a little longer than he thought it should. So, and he was great at it, and that was his interest, but the challenge for me was when they hired me, they said, we want you to bring out more of John's personality, because he has it. But, But, when you see it on that, you used to see it, doesn't do it anymore, on that quarterback camp show that he used to do, where he would, and then,
can you
so
throw,
they said,
sorry.
No.
That's the can you throw a wet ball.
Correct.
That is our favorite quote of all time. Well, was it with Andrew Luck, I think?
No, it was the Notre Dame kid, Brady.
Quinn. It was. Brady Quinn. Yes.
Can you throw
a wet ball?
Oh, it's just like the way he says it, like that John
He used to ask questions like that when we'd be in the production meetings, the day or two before with the teams before the Monday Night Football game. But so they said, we want more storytelling. We want more interaction with John. You with Jerry Rempe, Bill Raftery and Jay Billis, and you do a good job of bringing out the personality or engaging them in conversation or whatever to help do that. So I'm like, I can do this. And I wanted to. Like, when I was a kid, Monday Night Football was fun, right? It was Howard Cosell. This is going to be fun. Well, John, and he wanted no part of the conversation. If you're asking me a question, I'm not circling the left
right
tackle who did a great job on that corner blitz. So I kept saying, like, there was sometimes I would say something to him, he just wouldn't respond at all. So, which is really, really awkward when you're on national TV, right? Because my friends and I would say, well, it sounded like he was annoyed. I'm like, because he was.
He was very annoyed.
So, yeah.
How do you navigate out of that?
You ask him politely off the air, even if you don't want to answer, could you just answer? Because, you know, the awkward silence is really painful. You know, I've worked with 150 or 60 different analysts, hosts, whatever, sideline reporters. I kept a list of it. And there might be 2 or 3 I didn't like. And I don't dislike John. But there's nothing worse than when you're watching a game and you kind of feel like these two don't like each other. You know, it's and every now and then I'll hear a little exchange. Because I know from my own.
Of course.
No,
they're not feeling it right now.
Wait till the commercial. It's going to be listen, douche face.
Oh wow, that's so funny.
Good.
Oh yeah.
Do you feel like you're hearing that, or you're listening for that more and more?
Yeah, it doesn't happen often. Because most of the time, right, if you're together and you have that kind of chemistry, you're not going to stay together.
Yeah.
You know, like I didn't think it was vibing with John Gruden, but I thought when he went back to coaching that I might stay for another year. But by then, you know, the plan was to go back to college football, and I much prefer college football. I'm an NFL fan, but you know, there's a sameness when you're broadcasting the game. Like the NFL teams, they kind of all look the same, play the same, the stadiums are the same, the presentations. You know, college, every place is different. They all have their own traditions, and one team's playing option football, and the other team's playing this and that. You know, so and just the atmosphere on these campuses. You know, from the minute you get there on Wednesday or Thursday, you know, there's a vibe in the town. So I was really happy. You know, it was great to do Monday Night Football, but when you take your ego out of it, it's Monday Night Football, you take the ego out, which Ego is the Enemy is a great book. You know, you got to be happy, and I was very happy, and I'm still very happy to be back.
That's great.
I love that.
When I think of your great calls of all time, there's an awesome list.
This won't be a long conversation.
Yo, you kidding me? Michigan State, Blue Jays World Series, Braves NLCS, Devendorf.
He's doing the hair thing again. Yeah. I hope that was on camera.
That was the Michigan State. That was more
you hated that.
That's one of the worst memories of my life.
God.
So.
Oh, really? You're a Wolverine?
I didn't go there, but I've just been a lifelong Michigan man. So.
UConn, UNC Nova. You don't have to pick your favorite, but can you give us?
It's funny because yesterday when we were at MSG, I was going up in the elevator to the ceiling, which is where most of these hockey broadcasts are, which is the bane of my existence. Oh, yeah. It's like, I tell friends of mine all the time, go to TD Garden, buy a seat in the last row of the balcony, the worst seat in there, and then look up and further back.
And then you'll see us.
Wave at me.
Then try to do play-by-play.
Trying to see the puck, you know, this big. So, anyway, but yesterday I was going up in the elevator, and the elevator door opened on one of the floors on the way up, and there was an exhibit for the 6 overtime Syracuse-UConn basketball game in 2009, I think it was, which was unbelievable.
Insane.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah, but I'm lucky, you know, just being around that long and doing all these things you mentioned. You know, just the odds are at least a few times you're going to be in the right place at the right time where something cool happens, and then that's to me the most fun part of this is. It's live. You know, you get one shot at it, like the players, the coaches, the officials, and you either nail it or you're okay or you totally whiff. Yeah. You know, the Sid Bream thing in 1993, you guys probably weren't even alive. Were you? No.
Yeah.
You were?
Yeah.
Barely, if you were. So, but it's amazing. I talk to colleges now, and I'm referencing games that I did or players, you know, and they're just looking at me like, "Who is that?"
Who?
You know, right?
What? Yeah.
Peyton Manning played football. Really?
Yeah.
So I just thought he was that guy on TV.
Yeah.
You know, but that's a little bit of an exaggeration. But you know, the Sid Bream thing, you know, was probably the first of my kind of famous or infamous voice cracks when he slid across home plate. And I thought, oh my God, you know, that's probably the biggest play I'm ever going to call in my life. It's Game 7 of the World Series. They were behind 2-0 going to the bottom of the ninth. They rally and win. I mean, it is still one of the greatest games of all time. Yeah. And you know, that call is going to be played forever. And my voice cracked like I was a 12-year-old. Yeah. And so when I got to the truck a long time later, because we had a long post-game show, you guys know Billy Andrade, the golfer from Rhode Island, who's on the Champions Tour now. He's a good friend. He's lived in Atlanta for a long time. His wife, Jody's from there. And they were in our booth in 1992. So we were walking down to the truck, and I was like, oh, my God. You know, I don't even know if they're going to let me do the World Series. I may not be the youngest guy ever to do the World Series. They're going to give me the hook. And when I got to the truck, everybody came running over and was hugging me about, that was so awesome. You know, like,
there you go.
Okay.
Yep.
Maybe it wasn't so bad. So, you know, to me, like the Michigan State thing, again, there's some voice cracking, but your call should match the moment, right?
Yes.
I mean, like, it's the most, we've all been and watched a million games. I've broadcast thousands of games, but I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
And so, sorry. But
You know, it is what it is. But you're so right. It's those moments for us hearing it. It's like that you can feel the emotion from you. You know, it shows that you're a fan.
It should be holy crap. Like, oh my God, what just happened?
Exactly.
And there was that one Michigan kid. You know, that was the greatest thing. You know, and that's to me the number one rule: call the play in a moment like that, and then shut up.
Yeah.
They said Vin Scully in big moments would stand up and walk away from the microphone like this so he would avoid the temptation to say something.
I
There's
saw you
nothing
said
you can say that's better than the pictures and the audio.
Yeah,
what a pro.
Let them. He was. I saw you say that about the Henry Aaron home run.
Yeah.
He didn't talk, and it's like let the audience sit with it for a second. I think that was
Call
so
it,
well
chronicle it, and get out of the way. You know, so many people want to keep talking because they kind of, at least subliminally or maybe just, you know, consciously want to be attached to this moment forever. So I'm just going to keep attaching my voice to this, so every time someone watches it,
you hear me. Yeah,
you hear me. But that's not what we're there to do.
That's awesome.
Similar, but a bit different. Do you have a favorite game, regardless of the call, regardless of maybe the moment? Is there a game that
Sid
sticks
Bream
out?
one was unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, during COVID, when you know there were no live sports and every network is doing the greatest, games of all time, players of all time, but. Major League Baseball Network did a series, I think it was called Baseball's Greatest Games, and I believe that game was number 4 of all time.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's Game 7 of the NLCS, which might be the most pressure-packed thing. You know, at least if you lose in the World Series, you made it to the World Series.
Yep.
This, you get as close as you can get to the World Series. And that Pittsburgh Pirate team had, you know, that was their last chance with Bonds, and Jim Leland was the manager, and a bunch of other guys who probably weren't going to be playing for them anymore. So to lose in excruciating fashion. And I thought a lot about it last fall, and I'm going to get emotional again, but because do you know who would have been the MVP of that series if Pittsburgh had won? Tim Wakefield.
Get out of town.
He won 2 games in that series.
Wow, that is a killer. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Tim Wakefield. We talked about it a bunch. Matter of fact, it became a running joke. I was working with Tim McCarver. Tim had played, I don't know if it was in the majors or minors, someplace, with a guy named Bill Wakefield.
Yeah.
And every time Tim took the mound, every time we ran into Tim in the clubhouse, he called him Bill. Yeah. So that for the next 30 years, every time I saw Wake, hey, how you doing, Bill?
What's up, Bill?
Like, it was our own little private joke. Nobody else knew what we were talking about. But I'm pretty sure he won 2 games, and I'm not good at remembering the specifics. But he would have. And then like that, he was gone, thank God.
Yeah, right.
For us.
For us.
Yep.
Because, he wasn't as good, and Pittsburgh let him go, and he came here and, won 200 games.
Absolutely. Insane. God, what
seeing him win in
it was
2004.
the all-time, when people die, it's always, oh, he was the greatest. But everything everybody wrote and said about Tim Wakefield was 100% accurate.
Yeah.
Sincerely a great teammate, citizen of the community, champion of charity, husband, father, friend, you name it.
That's awesome.
And he died way too young, but at his memorial service, the Red Sox did a great job, and the Wakefields did a great job as a family, taking pictures and videos. And I'm sitting there watching. I'm like, you know what? 58, I think he was. That sucks, and it's way too short. But this guy had an unbelievable life.
Yeah.
He had a top 0.1 percentile life of all time, regardless of how long it was, with everything that he did. I mean, there are pictures of the family all over the world, and he's playing golf at Augusta National. He, was a Major League Baseball legend and champion, and much admired citizen. So it was too short, but he had a hell of a life.
Yeah, he did.
Any any broadcaster that you've worked with that you want to shout out that's one of your all-time favorite partners? I know you've worked with so many greats.
I had so many. I love Jerry Rempe.
Yep.
That was 9 great years.
Yeah.
Bill Raftery and Jay Billis, I did the basketball with. The football, college football, Todd Blackledge. Greg McElroy last year, in 1 year, we become really good friends.
That's cool, yeah.
Todd Blackledge and Chris Spielman, who I worked with before him, are 2 of my very closest friends. Most of the closest friends I have are people I've worked with.
Yeah, of course.
It's you spend a lot of time together and share a lot of experiences. You have a lot of time to get on the road. You're talking about family stuff and it's. I feel bad. I'm probably shortchanging.
Of course, but that's great.
Even back to Nesson College hockey, the legendary Bob Norton, who I just talked to the other day. He's 81 and going strong. Remember, he gave me a great note, which I think I may use on this game tonight, because as we're talking, some of the question is, are the Bruins going to keep alternating goalies?
Yeah.
And I talked to Nortz not too long ago, and he reminded me that when Jim Montgomery was at Maine playing for the late, great Sean Walsh in 1993, Maine, that year they won the national championship, I think it was 93, they alternated goalies the entire year right through the Frozen Four. It helps when you have Mike Dunham and Gar Snow, but they did it. So I think in Jim Montgomery's mind,
proven. Yeah, that's actually a great tidbit.
Yeah,
that's a great tidbit.
Yeah. That may get in tonight. The problem with hockey play-by-play is there's no time to even tell a story that long.
Yeah.
Because in the first year, this is our third year back, the first year, I didn't realize as a broadcaster how much faster the game had gotten in the 17 years that ESPN was out.
Yep.
And there were a number of times at the beginning where I was just in the middle of this rambling story and, and the University of Maine, goal!
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Here's a penalty, you're right in the middle of this. So hockey, it better be brief.
Yep. Yeah.
Or on a stoppage.
Yeah,
because it's amazing how fast you think, okay, the defenseman just standing behind his own net with the puck. Nothing's going to happen in the next 5 seconds. And then here comes the forecheck, and it's right in front of the net, and bang, it's in the net. And you're like, son of a gun.
Yeah. Sticking with hockey, when we think of playoff hockey, we think of Doc Emmerich.
Me too.
Just one of the great icons of all time. And you have some really awesome quotes that you said and moments about Doc where you were actually in the stands in 2019 in the Bruins Blues.
Right here, right upstairs.
We're not going to talk about because that was horrible.
It really was.
But you have.
And when we were walking out, there was a woman, it's totally quiet, right?
Yeah.
We're just walking, heading toward the escalators down. And there's a woman who says, good for St. Louis. Like, we've had so much winning lately. They've never won it. Good for, and everybody was
I was going to say, I was going to say
you're in the wrong city.
That was not a widely held opinion by those who were leaving.
Oh, I saw this really awesome moment that you had with your buddies that I love stuff like this. You said that you turned to your buddies and you looked at Doc doing what he does and you said it'd be really awesome to do something like that.
I grew up loving all the sports, as I said earlier, but when I was a kid, Bobby Orr and the Bruins, they were the thing. Even though the Celtics were winning all these championships, and the Bruins started winning them.
Yeah.
But, Bobby Orr was every kid my age, and still is.
Yeah, absolutely.
I still get, like, a little nervous every time I'm around Bobby, because Bobby Orr knows my name now. It's so cool.
Isn't that amazing?
And it's really cool when you meet your idol, and he's, like, the nicest guy. I played a lot of junior tennis growing up. That was sort of my sport.
Yeah.
And ball boyed at some tournaments and stuff. And
that's cool.
I idolized Rod Laver. He was the greatest tennis player in the world when I was a young kid. And so 4 or 5 years ago, I was at Wimbledon, and just as a fan. And we're in a restaurant in the hotel we're staying in. And I look over, about as far, but a little further away than you are. And I said, I think that's Rod Laver. So I said to the maitre d', is that Rod Laver? Yeah, it is. He was at 4 or 5 other people. I said, I don't want to bother him. I don't want to say. I just would love to buy him and his group a drink.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the maitre d' came over and said he appreciates it very much. They're not staying too much longer, but he said, please come over and say hello. There was a woman actually in the group who recognized me. I think might have said, but anyway. He invited me to sit down. I have all these pictures in my phone right here, but he has his arm around me, and I said to him, it's the coolest thing ever when somebody, you've kind of idolized your whole life that turns out to be as nice as you are. So
that's so cool.
And Doc Emmerich, speaking of which, nicest people of all time. He's in any conversation. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
it's great.
Well, I mean, listen, it's like I just think it's so great. You've done all of these amazing things. We went down the list, but I just think it's so cool, Sean, when you have that moment of saying, later in your career, saying it would be so cool to do that. And then
I was sitting in the stand just to finish the story, and I've been, as we've said, a lot of sporting events, but just the energy in the building before the puck drop, they lead up to the anthem, like this. And sometimes when you're in the booth, you're a little detached from that. I don't know if it's the walls or your back, but I've experienced that much more as a fan.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking, how cool, looking at where Doc was, how cool would it be to call this? Never thinking that I would.
Yeah.
Hoping since I was a little kid, literally lying on the floor in the living room with my little tape recorder calling the Bruins games back in those days, the Globe used to print like the rosters, and it was only 1 through 30 or 31. Yeah. No one was number 68 or 98 or whatever. So it was easy to remember, and I knew all the Bruins names and numbers, and I could probably still recite them all from back then.
Right, yeah, definitely.
But that's what I always wanted to do.
Yeah.
So a couple of years later, that was 2019, and we've been in it 3 years. So, I was walking down the street, and I got a text from somebody, hey, we got the NHL back. And I immediately texted Jimmy Pitaro. I'm like, you know what? He's our runs ESPN.
Yeah.
Said, I want this. I'm not going to mess around. I'm just going to go straight to him. So I texted him and said, I'd love to be the lead play-by-play guy on this, and we're involved in some way. He's like, oh, that's great. So let me talk to the other people who are going to make the decision. So, yeah.
It's fantastic. You were just talking about how fast the game is. Looking at your career and all the things that you've done. I mean, you just said it. And for the listeners, again, it's something that maybe we don't consider. Those stories, those little asides that you can do in other sports that you just can't do in hockey. It's such an interesting thing. And I loved seeing this little quote you had about Doc, something you admired about Doc, is his little strategy of when a shot doesn't go in the net, how he just does that, like, and it did not go.
Yeah.
And it's,
that's a pretty good imitation.
You don't know, was it a save? Was it a post?
That happens a lot, right? And because you're way up there. I mean, in most of these arenas, you're dangling from this, like here. If people who've been to the TD Garden, the ice level is on the 3rd floor of the building. Like if you came up to the ice level, you take the elevator to 3 from the street level, and then we're on 9.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So we're 6 stories basically above. We're like looking out a 6-story window, and you're set back this way too. And here's better than some. I mean, there are a bunch that are even further away.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, last year, when you're thinking about what matchups do we want in these playoffs, I'm always rooting for the team that has the low booth to win. Like Vegas, great booth, basically in the bar.
Yeah.
Our buddy Dave Gosher, who you guys love.
Yeah, we love Gosh.
Gosh was here. The Gosh, when the Golden Knights first started in T-Mobile Arena, they were dangling from the ceiling, and I think he actually said something to Bill Foley, the owner, like, this is awful.
Yeah.
So they built him a little booth. It's in the
awesome.
bar. It's at the top. You're the last row of the lowest section. You're probably 20 rows off the ice. Pittsburgh's the same way.
Yeah.
You're in the Captain Morgan Club.
Yeah.
But most of them you're way up.
Yep.
On the matter of fact, the only Stanley Cup final we've done so far, we'll have it again this year because we alternate with Turner. We had 2 years ago Colorado and Tampa, and those are probably 2 of the 5 worst.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, really?
You're so high and so far back.
Yeah.
And so I think this year ESPN is going to do what they used to do for Doc, what NBC used to do, and buy up some seats or something and build a little platform down lower.
That's
I
huge.
came here to the Bean Pot.
Yeah,
and I was in a suite,
too,
and I took pictures and I sent it to my bosses. Like, any chance we could get this close to the ice? Like, this is amazing when you can actually see what happened, and you don't have to say, and it did not go, like Doc used to say. And that means I don't know
what happened.
If it missed the net, the goalie stopped it. If it hit the post.
Yeah.
I don't like to have a lot of crowd sound and the noise, that you hear sometimes on TV.
Sure,
Because everybody my age who's done this is completely deaf, and I didn't want to be complete. So I always like everything kind of low.
Yeah.
So Buddha, our audio guy, Dan Bernstein, who's here tonight, I said, Buddha, when we first started the hockey, they have mics in the net.
Yeah.
And every time there's action around the net, it's like you
So,
almost couldn't hear yourself talk. So I said, could you take the net mic out? Well, now, from where I am, the puck is hitting the post.
Yeah.
And everybody at home is hearing ping, right? And I don't.
You can't hear it.
So I don't know that it hit the post. And everybody's like, what are you, a moron? I mean, didn't you hear the ping? Well, no, I didn't, because I asked them to take that out, and I'm 10 stories away, and I have headphones on.
Yeah.
So 2 years ago in the playoffs, we were in New York. I said, okay, Buddha, I can't have that happen. You got to give me the net mic a little bit. So very beginning of the game, I don't remember, it was a Pittsburgh Penguin, coming down the wing, shoots. Igor Shesterkin slides across like from post to post, and you hear ping, and I said, it hit the post, right? So they show the replay. It missed the net by about this much. Well, his skate
of course,
hit the bottom of the post and caused the ping.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, Buddha, get the net mic back out of there.
Yeah.
So, I would love to be close, but a lot of times we're just not.
Yeah. One of my favorite things that I've noticed that Doc does is the player name after.
I was just about to say
it's the same thing as he does that thing where he's like, and going around the net to collect the puck is Phil Kessel.
Well, that
I love that strategy.
Well, that's a very effective way of giving yourself extra time to figure out who it is.
Right? Like he's like, I have no idea who this is.
Yeah.
And it's
I
Phil
used
Kessel.
to listen to Jack Buck on Monday Night Football on the radio with Hank Stram, right?
Yeah.
And he was the king of, and it's caught at the 42-yard line. That's the big tight end, number 88. He's at the 30, and it's Jay Novacek. It's like,
and it sounds to us, it sounds so
he's
professional.
looking for the number. And that happens a lot.
Yeah.
And especially from where we are, one of the things you have to do in hockey broadcasting is not only memorize all the names and numbers, but sometimes the numbers can look alike. 15 can look like 16, can look like 18 or 19.
Yeah.
So now you actually have to memorize, okay, 13's a left shot, 15's a right shot. That guy skates hunched over.
Yeah.
This guy's more upright skater, whatever it is, because it's just, you're so far away that a lot of times you're guessing.
Totally.
A lot of times it's an educated guess.
We were joking around. I forget who it was. I think it might have been with Army, but last year, the year before, Tampa had those blackout jerseys, and the numbers were black as well.
Oh.
And it was like, well, what the hell do you expect me to do?
Yes. Last year in Florida, when they came out, they had the exact same uniform on.
Yeah.
Right? The exact same uniform.
Yeah.
Remember, Ray Ferraro was between the benches, and the officials came out and said, what the hell are we supposed to do with this?
Yeah. It's like
Kaprizov sent a guy on the other team in on a breakaway thinking he was on his team.
Yep.
And they took a shot at the bench, and they're all laughing, like, yeah, of course. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
So you're all fired up to go to the All-Star game. And from the minute they took the ice, I thought, this is going to be the longest 3 hours of my life. And they have double numbers.
Yeah.
And,
also true.
Right. God.
Yeah. So people watching don't know, and they don't really care.
Yes.
Right? So don't make excuses. Do the best you can.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know if you're allowed to do this, but if you are, do you have who you like this year? Any Cup favorites?
Oh, yeah.
Any predictions?
I mean, ESPN just published our picks for who's going to win each of these first-round series, and then who we're going to pick. I picked Carolina in the preseason, so I just stayed with them.
I like that.
Yeah.
Looking good.
They've gone wire to wire. Look, I like that pick.
I think adding Gensel was huge. To me, and I think to most people, the thing that's always held them back is just not enough guys you could rely on for scoring. Mm-hmm. And Kuznetsov, he looked like he was done in Washington.
Yeah.
I mean, they basically said goodbye.
Yep. And then bang, first goal of the series.
Bang. So sometimes it changes scenery.
Yep.
And he took a little time away, so maybe that helped. But
definitely.
So I like them, especially if they continue to get really good goaltending like they've been getting.
Yep.
So, but there's a bunch of teams that could win. The Rangers we had the other day, they could win.
Florida.
Dallas is really good.
Yeah.
Would anybody be surprised if Vegas as the 8th seed won?
Shawnee, we were just talking about it. It's like,
I mean,
ho hum. Look at that. Petro's back. Stoner's back. Like everyone's healthy again.
I swear.
It's miraculous how they all get healthy right as a player.
Would you look at that?
I swear that Dallas, Vegas, and Florida Tampa series, that the winner of that first round matchup could be the final.
We had Dallas and Vegas last year in the Western Conference final.
Yep.
Again, a win.
Yep.
2 good booths.
Yeah.
Dallas not as low as Vegas, but lower than most.
Yep.
So
this is something I'm going to keep an eye on.
Me too.
Now.
Me too.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, hopefully they're going to build some platforms.
Yeah.
Yep.
MSG's fine. It's a little higher than you want to be, but it's doable.
Yeah.
But there's just Carolina. My God.
So you're screwed. Like, if your pick hits, you're
you
screwed.
might as well be calling it from the Goodyear blimp.
Okay, so how's the booth at Florida? Because when we were up, we were up there in the media room. I was like, this is fucking insane.
Yes.
Like, I'd rather just walk the concourse.
Thank you for speaking my thought every time I walk in there.
I mean, it is like it's comically high. At that one.
It really is.
Yeah.
You have no chance.
Yeah.
And it's just an educated guess a lot of the time. It really is.
For real.
And then like people say, is it okay having Ray Ferraro not in the booth next to you? Like, because somebody needs to be down there to see what happened.
Yeah.
I tell them, like, if that puck was deflected or hit somebody off the leg, feel free to say. I won't feel like you're correcting me. The number one thing for us is to get it right.
Yep.
Yes.
No matter what. So what I've done a better job of now is not really going to the Doc Emmerich school of around the net, and he's going to fetch the puck, and that's the big defenseman, Sergachev or whatever. So, So at the beginning, I was a little too committed to getting the call in real time, and there's nothing worse than you have to go back and correct it.
Fixing it. Yeah.
So now we wait.
And it's cool. I
smart.
think you've said about building the chemistry with someone not in the booth next to you, and I think you guys have done such a good job of that.
Yeah,
awesome.
the first 2 or 3 games we did, we were together.
Yep.
And not only are a lot of these booths far away, but they're really small.
Tiny, yeah.
And I am legendarily nerdy about, I have charts, and my Gruden used to love my football spotting chart, which is about the size of this monitor right here. Remember, we were on the air one time, and he compared it to Andy Reid's play calling chart that he has on the sideline. And so I need my space.
Yep.
And, we did a game here, one of the first games we did together, and between Ivan, our stage manager / stats guy, me and Ray, we almost couldn't stand shoulder to shoulder. So when Ray said, in Canada all these years I've been between the benches, how would you feel about that? I'm like, I'd feel really good about it.
I'd feel great about it.
Yeah, and please love it and stay down there.
Yeah.
And, you worry about stepping on each other, but we really don't that much.
Yep. Yeah.
And, what I try to do is natural pauses, the guys behind his own net holding the puck. If the play's been going on for a while, pause, because maybe Ray wants to come in. If they're kind of moseying around center ice, there's a time. And then I try to give him all the time on the stoppages.
Yeah, sure.
So
it's interesting to hear. Like, there really is a dance about it.
Yeah.
Of, giving each other time, finding the right cadence. That's really cool.
It takes time.
Yeah.
But he's been invaluable being down there between the benches, because he sees and hears things that we would never. I remember the kid Kochetkov, the
Piotr in
Carolina goalie, a couple of years ago. He came over to the bench during the game, and Ray was right next to the bench, and we don't know what's going on. And there was a delay, and they said the problem is nobody speaks Russian, though they don't understand what he's asking, so they had to get Svechnikov from the other end of the bench, and he had a problem with his skate. So they're like, oh, Svechnikov said he needs to have his skate fixed.
Got it. So funny.
That is so funny.
Yeah, he hears a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
The Bruins in Florida series last year, like Kachuk and Marchand and all this snipe. Well, he hears all of it.
Oh, yeah.
Edits some of it.
Oh, yeah.
So it's very valuable having him down
Cool
there.
new aspect.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
All right, Sean, I know we got to get you in the garden here.
Yeah, you got to
but,
go see Jim Montgomery.
This,
Find out who's
I
playing
wish
goal
we could
tonight.
go for much longer.
I agree.
Can I
This
invite
is-
myself back?
I was just getting to that, because this is,
Part two?
we could do this for hours and hours and hours, and I hope we do in the future, but we'll get you into the garden before we let you go, and before we say thank you so much for this.
Oh, my
this
pleasure.
was so amazing. Is there anything you want to shout out, anything you want to plug before we let you out of here?
Just appreciate you two very much. It's
right back
a
at
lot
you,
of fun. And thanks for mentioning the charity. If people want to,
Yes, please.
people want
Absolutely.
to do that, they can find it's the Sean McDonough Celebrity Golf Classic and Brigham and Women's. And there's links if people want to donate. That would be great. But
That would be great.
But no pressure. It's just and thank you. Great to be with you guys.
Oh my God,
Thank
it's the
you, my
best. We'll
man.
do it again soon.
Are you gonna now just start jumping up and down and doing
Yeah.
burpees? as soon as
Yes,
you finish?
yeah. There's actually a full gym in the other room that we're just going to run right into. No, but seriously, Sean, thank you so much.
My
this was
pleasure.
so fun.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Huge thank you to Sean McDonough. That was one of the favorite interviews I've done in a long time. He is a great person and an even better friend, and I can't wait to have him back.
Yeah, he's going to be back for sure. That conversation made me want to get in the booth.
Yeah,
And I've never
how
felt
fun
that
would
way
that
in
be?
my life, and that just goes to show how cool he is and how special he's made the job.
Absolutely insane.
All right, quick mailbag. We've got 3 questions that we got to hit. They're kind of covering all the teams. I love it. First one is, who do you think will be the biggest rat in these playoffs?
Great one. And hey, thank you to everyone submitting. We're going to do this every week, so keep them coming. And we're going to get to as many as we have time for every week. The biggest rat, man, obviously we're here in Boston. I want to say Marshy, but I'm going to go, give me Sam Bennett. I just feel like he caused so many problems last year.
Solid
a couple high hits.
It's a solid one.
He's in the mixer all the time, and I think that Florida team's going to make a run, and I think they play with a lot of that.
Yeah.
That maybe, what is it for the Panthers? Scratch? Claw. They play with a lot of that claw, let's call
like
it.
that.
So I'll take Sam Bennett on that one.
I like it. First of all, I'm a sensitive boy. I hate the term rat.
Yeah.
I think that there's a way to be players like this, and you're not a rat. I like pest more. And
Okay.
I am going to go Marshy. There's something about this season, seeing him wearing the C on his sweater, and the way he has not shied away from that element of his game at all, especially against Toronto in the regular season, the ways that he's just yapping at the bench. He was going neck and neck, or going at the throat, rather, with Marner.
Yeah.
I
that was sick.
I think Marshy's got like an extra element of fire under his skin, and I think he's going to really get under people, get people hot under the collar.
If our picks are right, next round, we'll see a couple pests going head to head.
Yeah,
I'd like that
absolutely.
very much.
All right, hit me with the next one.
Next question is, give us your top 5 players in the playoffs.
Oof. Okay. I would say that my top 5 guys in the league are like still in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I don't want to necessarily just do that. I'm gonna say Nate Dogg. Nate Dogg is my one. I think he is so insane, and especially after that first loss too, I think he's gonna kick it into an even higher gear. I'm gonna go Connor after that. I just think he's undeniable. Even if and when they lose, he's always undeniable. What was it last year or the year before? It's like they lost, and then it took a full another round for someone to pass him in points.
yeah, you're right. I was like, what is going on?
He's an absolute
Draisaitl might have been doing that too.
Absolute mutant. After that, I'm going David Pastrnak.
Okay.
Pasta has just been a perennial performer in the playoffs. I don't think he gets his flowers enough when it comes to his playoff points. He was quiet in game 1, but was happy to because a lot of other secondary scoring came, which you love to see. And I think he's been a performer all year. I think he elevates his teammates, and I'm excited to see him keep pumping. I'm going Panarin.
Ooh, good one.
I'm going Panarin. I feel insane doing this over Kuch, but I am going Panarin. I think the last 2 seasons he's been unreal. This year, best year of his career. Obviously gets on the board in game 1 right away. I think we're going to see some big stuff from him, and then I have to go Kuch after that.
Yep. Okay, that's a fantastic list. It's probably a correct list because the 3 MVP finalists are in it. I'm just going to go a little rogue for people because I like this question so much, and I'm going to tell you the top 5 guys I think. And let's just call it round 1 because it's hard to predict who's going to get out. It's a couple tasty series. So round 1, here are my top 5 performers. Ready, Dan? Mm-hmm. Number 5, staying in New York, Chris Kreider. I just think he had the breakaway tuck in game 1. He is going to have at least 3 power play goals against this Caps team. That series, I think, is only going to go 4 games, but I just really think Kreider is going to. He almost had 2 in game 1 because he almost had a power play goal. He is immovable in front of the net, and he is going to put one in.
Yep.
Number 4, give me Jonathan Marchessault. 42 goals this year.
Damn, I really like that one.
I don't think I have picked Dallas to get by them. I could easily see Vegas getting by them, but I just think Marshy has been the. Every time that team has needed a goal this year, Marshy has been the guy. And I love, Willie, Ikes, a million guys can score on that team, but I just think Jonathan Marchessault is going to stay hot and have a bunch of goals on that squad. Number 3, Jake Gensel. Absolute heat smoke the rest of the regular season on the Canes. I believe pointless in game 1.
I don't remember.
I believe pointless, and this one could bite me because I also think that's going to be a quick series, but he has just been everything that team needed down the stretch here, and I think he really continues in the playoffs. He has playoff success in his past. He knows what it takes to win the finals. He is going to be the guy for this team.
Pointless in game 1.
Number 2, Matthew Tkachuk. I've been on him the whole second half. How could I not have my boy here? I think the Panthers are the best team in the league. Top 2, Dallas, I don't know.
He's just off mine.
He already scored, and I just think he's busting 10, baby. Here we go. And number 1, round 1 performer, Kyle Connor. 2 tucks in game 1. Guy's going to have 5 goals in the first round. 5 goals. Okay. And damn near double-digit points, if not double-digit points. Best performer of round 1.
What's really funny is I think we did this list so differently.
Yeah, we did. That's why I wanted to do it that way. They asked us
who are the 5 best players in the playoffs, and you gave 5 completely off the 5 best players in the playoffs list. But
those are very good. The top 3 are very good.
Are going to perform, which I really like.
Okay.
All right, our final one. Should officials call less in the playoffs, or doesn't matter as long as it's consistent?
Hold on. So if you think they should call it differently, say yes. If you think they shouldn't call it differently, say no. On 3. If they should call it differently, say yes. If they shouldn't call it differently, say no. Ready?
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Yes.
Nice. But I have a caveat to mine.
Okay.
In the 3rd period.
Ooh.
First 2 periods. Because, dude, here's the thing, man. I don't think playoffs should change the way you call the game. And I don't think it should change the way that you allow players to play the game. If you fucking trip me, it's a trip, dude.
Yep.
And it's even the little ones. Like, you might call an elbow. You might call an interference that in the playoffs you're like, I'm not going to call that one. again, if like the question said, if you keep it consistent and every ref is like, we're not going to call as much, we're all doing this, and you keep that same consistent level, great. I just think that's hard to do. I think it's hard for everyone to go, we're changing the way we do this, but it's going to be consistently changed. That's difficult. So I think first 2 periods, dude, this is a fucking hockey game. If you commit a penalty, you're getting called, you're going to the box. Third period, I am okay with. The term that we always say is swallowing the whistle. I am okay with swallowing the whistle in the third period as long as the entire league is doing it, and as long as every game does it too.
The trips, the delay games, and the high sticks have to get called. And like egregious, like hitting from behind or like, some elbow across the face. Like, of course, anything egregious. For me, the difference in the playoffs, because you're right, those are penalties, should be the hit stuff and the hold stuff and some of the hook stuff. It's like hits that you might have called interference or roughing. I'm like, let him go. I almost didn't want to agree with you on the swallow the whistle stuff because I'm kind of like, I hate the like, well, it was a penalty in the first, it's not in the third, but but even when I'm watching, I can feel myself being like, dude, let them play. Let them finish it themselves.
OT as well. I'm like, this, literally, dude, don't call anything.
Yes, unless it is one you have to call, which is like a high stick and he's bleeding or a delay game. And I know we both hate delay game. The last thing I'll say on this topic, Dan, and I think some people disagree with this, I am completely for penalties. Like, if one team is to have a bunch of power plays, fucking find something to call. Like, period. It's so unfair when one team takes 4 penalties and one doesn't.
No, it's not,
dude. Find something to call.
It's such a crazy take by you because I get it, but it's such a crazy take because if a team is playing a clean game and you just go like this, we're gonna just call that one. I'm like, no, dude, they're playing better than you and not committing penalties, so they shouldn't go to the box.
If they were actually playing a perfully clean game, then yes, of course, I agree.
Which is common.
No, there's always something that you're like, that
don't
could have
pull
been
that shit, dude. It's not football. There's not a hold on every play. The things that you're like, yeah, we can call that one. That's not a penalty. You're just doing it because you're a bitch and you want to even it out.
Well, my point is
it's crazy.
My point is this: if there's a hold that we both agree, like it's playoffs, that's a hold regular season, but it's not a hold in playoffs.
Well, sure, that one. But
then I go, if it's skewed, I'm like, call it, dude.
There are perfectly clean games played by teams, dude.
That's fair.
Telling you.
I'll accept that.
And I'm saying if that's the case, I think it's bullshit. If you're just going, yeah, we're gonna give them 2 because the other team made shitty plays.
Even it out. Even it out.
You're out of your mind.
Great questions.
Fantastic questions.
All right, Dan, let's get into Saucy Predictions. I know a lot of people thought that was going to be done in the regular season. It's not.
Hell no.
I've got an addiction to hot wings now.
I can't get enough of it. When we do an episode and we don't rip the hot sauce, I feel like something's missing. Not only in my mouth, but in my life. So Saucy Predictions continue.
It's going to be in the Tuesday app. So we're not going to do it. It's going to be the full week. We have the Saucy Prediction until the next week. We'll be back in the Tuesday app. We don't have any punishment this week, Dan. Probably the only week all playoffs will have no punishment because
no. I'm going to hit every single. And I've got mine, and mine is scorching.
Oh, okay.
Scorchingly.
Do you want to start?
Yes, I do.
Yep.
My Saucy Prediction for the week. By this time next week, Artemi Panarin will lead the Stanley Cup playoffs in points.
In points. They're going to say goals. I like it. He had how many in game 1?
He had 1.
1 point.
But it was beautiful. Came from laugh, so the connection continues.
Yep.
The Rangers are buzzing. Everyone thought, oh, regular season doesn't matter. We're going to get to the playoffs. President's Trophy curse is real. The Rangers can't do it. They're perennial chokers. Ho-hum, would you look at that? A 5-1 dick slapping of the Capitals. And Rempe gets on the board. Panarin gets on the board. Getting paid not a lot of money for fucking working, dude. The Rangers are absolutely buzzing, and Panarin is staying hot. He will be leading the league, the playoffs in points this time.
A lot of guys had 3 burgers in game 1s.
Don't care.
Yeah, okay, don't care. He doesn't care. He doesn't care at all.
Don't care.
Okay, I love it. Mine is a massive overreaction already. Okay?
I would expect nothing else of you.
By this time, but at this point next week, a week from today, 2 teams
gone
will be out of the playoffs.
2 sweeps.
2, maybe 3.
Come on.
No, but 2's my prediction.
Come on,
2's my prediction.
Dude. This guy, I mean,
I'm massively overreacting, and this is one of those ones too where I hate when my Saucy Prediction is dead a day after I make it. You know,
it's gonna be.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh damn.
That's what's great. He's like, we'll be watching games on Thursday, and you'll be like, this. Well, you'll be doing the math. Yeah. Alan from The Hangover at the blackjack tables, just all the numbers going around your head, going, is anyone possibly going to get swept? And the answer is no.
2 teams going to be out. Do you know who I think? You know who I think could be?
I was about to ask. Are you going to grace us with your guesses of who's going to get swept? Let me.
There are 3 teams I think that could get swept.
I think you think the Islanders are going to get swept.
Ping.
That's one of them. I think you think the Capitals are going to get swept.
Ping.
I think you think the Leafs are going to get swept. Did I just go 3 for 3? That's a sweet hat.
Hey, I'm massively overreacting. I'm aware.
You sure
of that.
are.
But I'm just telling you, 2 teams. When this next Tuesday app drops, 2 teams gone.
I like it.
2 teams already golfing, Dan.
There are both of ours. A bonus third saucy prediction is we're both going to be eating hot sauce next week.
So enjoy that.
All right, that is it for us today at the Empty Nerds Podcast. We got to get into the Garden for this Game 2 matchup between the Bruins and the Maple Leafs. Unbelievable stuff, guys. We will see you again in a few days for the next episode. And until then,
skate hard.